Hey guys, before the video starts, we have two disclaimers that we want to let you guys know about. The first disclaimer is that this video was recorded before the Switch's official reveal. This means that we still refer to it by its codename, the NX. The second disclaimer is that it is a semi-continuation of SourceCast 11, which covered a similar topic and had similar information. So we highly recommend you listen to that podcast before you watch this video, so you're not missing out on the info we're talking about in this video. That will be linked in the description below for convenience sake. Anyways, without further ado, please enjoy the rest of the video. Hey guys, welcome to the Source Gaming discussion. I am your host, EpicMartin7, and today I am joined by a fellow Source Gaming member, Liquid12A.
Hi.
And today we're here to discuss our thoughts on where this console generation is going and how the console industry is changing. So Liquid, why don't you start and give your thoughts on that?
So consoles are sort of weird right now because, you know, all that's happening right now is that consoles are getting smaller and more affordable. When you look at it, there are always these re-releases, mostly on Sony and Microsoft's side because, you know, Nintendo only had the Wii Mini as far as I remember for the original Wii, and, well, the Wii U, we all know how that went. And, you know, they're practically abandoning it by this year so that they can focus on the NX. But
pretty much.
That's the trend I've been noticing. Like, they're getting more compact, more accessible with whatever new features they want to add to it. Like, the PS4 Neo was announced this week. Well, PS4 Pro, I just heard of it as a PS4 Neo, so whatever. So, yeah, and actually, I don't have a PS4 yet, and I heard it, and, you know, my brother's always wanted one, so I told him, hey, wait for this new, more affordable one. So.
Right. It seems like I agree with what you're saying. A lot of these console manufacturers are like, okay, we'll make our console SKU a little bit smaller, but just add a little bit of features, you know? We've seen Microsoft do that with the Xbox One S. You know, console redesigns in the past were just smaller variations of the base console, but this time they're adding like I said, the Xbox One S, they're having, you know, I think 4K Blu-ray support, and then additional video modes added to it, you know, and it shows how, you know, the console race is really changing to the point where it's not towards, you know, gimmicks or towards a totally different design, but more just adding power to it.
Yeah, and longevity too. I mean, consoles need to last before you bring out the next proper version. Like, some of the most successful consoles have lasted at least 5 years or more, so maybe we get the next Xbox or PS4 by 2020 maybe? Once their library has been fully exhausted.
Yeah, that's a pretty good estimate if we were talking you know, them adding new consoles, but with the way it's going, I do think that this pretty much shows just the end, well, for me at least, traditional console generations, because we've never really seen anything like this before. I mean, yeah, we've had like the Sega Genesis add-ons, but those were add-ons and not, you know, physical console variations that had additional power.
That's not how you spell life support.
Ha! Well, the Wii U kind of needed it. Kappa. But yeah, I feel like, you know, them basing it off the previous architecture of the base console and just improving some things makes me feel like the console market is going towards like a phone model where they're gonna have upgrades every couple of years or so. And I feel like that is pretty much laying the coffin for traditional console generations. I think after this, we are done seeing like actual new consoles from Sony or Microsoft. At least from them. You know, not to say, you know, someone else can't come in, but I just feel like I just feel that way. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I can see what you're saying, but, you know, they're gonna have some innovation that basically mandates a new console at some point. So, but The idea here is to just get the most out of the current generation before moving on to something new, something with a new name, whatever.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, at some point, they will either have to make a new console in order to prevent, flooding the market with a bunch of these variations. Like, I could see if they go with this model, they could flood the market with, like, the PS4 Pro 2 or the PS4 Pro 3, and that will cause consumer confusion. So they would have to make a new console eventually.
Call it Atari.
True. And the dozens of 3DO consoles that are out there. But I could legitimately see that happening. But for me, I don't really think. I think this is more of a, I guess, bow out for Sony and Microsoft. I'm not saying they're going to be done with the console market. I'm just saying I feel like they're going to go into a more universal platform. I mean, you kind of see it with Microsoft because at their E3 press conference, they pretty much were pushing Windows 10 and how you can have your Xbox One games with your Windows 10 device, and it felt like they were edging people more towards PCs, while Sony is pushing PlayStation Now quite a lot, and it feels like they're trying to make their console division more of a brand essentially, and not a machine. So
when you think about it, most consoles these days have tried to implement some sort of multifunctionality. Like, even since the earliest days of the PS2, you could see that it was things like a music player, a DVD player, and then when you get to the Xbox, the 360, the PS3, and even the later stages of the Wii, you could see stuff like Netflix and streaming being implemented. So these things become more like PCs than gaming machines, which, I'll admit that does miff me a bit, but
yeah,
if I buy a gaming console, I'm buying it to game on, and credit to Nintendo for that. They're at least still making gaming machines and not all in one gaming whatever.
Yeah, the Wii U really felt like the last traditional gaming console just meant for gaming. It felt like it, maybe because in a generation where you have a lot of multifunctional devices, the PS4 could play Blu-rays, or the Wii U had none of that. It was strictly for gaming with some like Netflix and YouTube on the side, and Nintendo marketed it as such.
Well, yeah, and even the Wii U has its fair share of multifunctionality, but like Netflix and Hulu Plus and YouTube last I saw, but compared to the other market titans, the PS4 and the Xbox One, it's not nearly as multi-diverse as the others,
Right. And I find it funny too because the Wii U not only has is more of a dedicated gaming console, but it's radically different from its competitors, the Xbox One and PS4, because it has a radically different architecture. It was marketing itself as a game console mostly, not as a multifunctional device. And it seemed, it had the gamepad too. It felt like that. It was truly the last. I feel like it's the truly last device we'll ever see marketed as a direct game console. Because you have the other two consoles in this generation being so similar to each other and so similar to PCs that it feels like they're trying to mask itself as a PC but in a console shell. Well, not to say the other consoles were pretty much PCs. Consoles felt like they had something special to them, something unique that brought it away from the standard of PC gaming. Now, but in this day and age, you can just get a huge gaming PC and play most of the games that come out, because most of them aren't really exclusives anymore.
Yeah, exclusive is kind of a buzzword thrown around these days because something exclusive is likely to get ported to another console sometime, like Sonic Lost World getting on Steam last year.
Right. And the same thing kind of happened to Rise of the Tomb Raider, where they had a exclusivity contract with Microsoft, but and I think it was only like for 6 months or so, and then they're porting it to the PS4 as a definitive edition.
Well, you see, it's just a buzzword to generate marketing, so it's really pointless in the end.
Right, I mean, most of these console manufacturers are allowing PC releases. I mean, Street Fighter V was released on PS4 and PC. Sunset Overdrive was recently released, I think, on PC. Rise Son of Rome came to PC as well, which was pretty much a glorified Xbox One tech demo. So it's funny how they're not really caring about these exclusives anymore and trying to get them, you know? And honestly, I think this is just kind of a weird theory, but I think it has something to do with the economic crash that happened, because during that time, these console manufacturers couldn't really afford to make new consoles because no one was going to buy them. So they just had to stick it out until probably 2013 or so, when most of them, the 8th generation consoles came out. And during that time, PC gaming gained a lot of traction, and they started becoming more powerful compared to the consoles, and the developers started getting on board with that model. And I feel like Sony Microsoft was like, okay, we don't really want to lose our third-party support, so we're going to have to appease the developers and give them what they want. And what they wanted was pretty much PC gaming, but on a console shell,
Well, yeah, but... Yeah, honestly, I really don't have anything to add to that now that I think about it.
Yeah, I know. It's I don't know. It's something that I feel like was gonna happen anyway. I mean, where we're going, I kind of knew the console market was going in a direction where they wanted to appease, some PC gamers. I mean, if you look at the Xbox One, a lot of the DRM, when it was first revealed, it had a bunch of DRM, but the DRM was pretty much similar to what PC gamers have to deal with. Because there are some DRM measures put in place like that. Like you have to have a license in order to play a certain game, and after the huge uproar with that, and they took it off, but I think it just goes to show that they were trying to appease those third-party developers. I mean, yeah, just...
Yeah, they have to gain revenue somehow, and with PC gaming becoming as big as it is, well, multi-console releases are pretty much a benefit to them right now.
Pretty much. I mean, they're doing what they have to do to survive. Well, Sony mostly. I mean, Microsoft's got a boatload of money, so they can keep the Xbox division afloat for as long as they can. So, the only one really not really making money off of that is Nintendo. So they're trying to make money off their consoles and trying to make unique concepts for them. So, which is a huge difference compared to the others. So, I mean, I'm curious to see what actually happens. Of course, we're looking at it right now. I feel like it's gonna go like Microsoft and Sony, not sewing. Microsoft and Sony, I feel like eventually they're just gonna market their PlayStation and Xbox division as just a brand. That's where I feel like it's gonna go.
Yeah, considering that, I remember a few weeks ago that I saw a comment about Microsoft, like some of their Xbox games would be coming to PC. I can just imagine the reaction if something like, Halo 6 were to come to PC. Can you imagine how loud the reaction would be, positive or negative? Like PC and Xbox. Like you could market the Xbox brand on PC and people would still buy it.
Mm-hmm. Oh, definitely. I mean, there's a large user base of people that do PC game. At school, I have a lot of casual friends who do actually PC game, which shows you how the times are changing, I mean, a lot of the casual market would, buy consoles because they're simplistic. Well, with consoles becoming more and more complicated, you have a 2 gig or 4 gig system update you have to download and a bunch of patches you need to download. They're almost becoming synonymous with each other, and I think people are thinking, oh, what's the point if I can get all these games on PC, and only miss out a couple exclusive quote-unquote titles.
Well, yeah, though it does depend on the title, really. Sometimes you probably won't see anything on the PC that you can only see on a console, but those are mostly isolated cases, since most games on consoles you can find on PC these days. Just pray that isn't a pretty terrible port or anything.
Arkham Knight, cough cough. But yeah, I honestly think that eventually, I think maybe PC gaming will become the standard, and maybe consoles will be like a streaming box or something. There's gotta be something there for the casual consumer market.
Yeah.
I mean, albeit, getting Steam on your computer, is easy. It's just finding the specs and trying to find games that'll run on your computer, which is the hard part. So I don't think PC gaming is going to completely replace consoles. I just think that it's going to completely shift the console market to a different direction. And albeit we like it or not, I do think the future is digital streaming. And I hate that to death because I love my physical media. Like, I have a huge collection of Wii U titles that I play or I just collect out of random. Like, I have Pokken Tournament and Splatoon, and while I like those games, I don't play them as much as, like, say, Smash 4. So it's just kind of nice to pick them up and have them, so that way I can play them in the future. But having them as a streaming-based service, you feel like you don't own it, But I feel like that's where it's going, and albeit, it's a sad truth to some of us gamers.
Yeah, well, the times are changing.
Yeah, I acknowledge that. I think a lot of people do. I'll be fine playing games like that. It's not gonna hurt me. Not buying a physical game ain't gonna kill me. But it's like to behold to see, how times are really, pushing streaming quite a lot. I mean, you already see it in movies. You already see it in music. So I think gaming is the next step on where it's going. But I don't think we'll see it for another couple of years because of people's internet connections. So I'm gonna estimate probably somewhere in 2020 we'll see a good number of people streaming games.
Well, yeah, that depends on how accessible high-end technology becomes, how available high-end PCs and streaming devices become available to the general populace. Because, the latest consoles, barring Nintendo, offer streaming options. So you're very likely to see more casual streaming. Well, not more casual, casual or serious, whatever you want to call it, but you can definitely see a lot more people streaming depending on how accessible it becomes. Mainly for consoles, because for PCs, streaming is reliant on you having a pretty powerful rig or whatever. I mean, I know people who dabble in that all the time, and they talk about streaming a lot. They talk about physical specs, and you kind of need these pricey graphics cards and all that. But but again, it depends on how accessible these become to a general market. Which, hey, if they want to make money, they'll try and find the perfect balance between getting back their revenue and making it more accessible to the average gamer.
That's true. I've gone to my local store and I've actually seen a bunch of Blu-ray players that have PlayStation Now built into them, and some Sony TVs do have that. So I think their plan is not only to integrate it into PCs, but I think they're gonna have separate devices that integrate that. I think that's how they're gonna get to the casual market and just integrate it into a lot of devices. Again, the accessibility of it. Whether or not they have a bad internet connection is up to the user. But I think by like 5 or 6 years, a lot of people will be having some decent connections. So I think that combined with integrating, gaming, like game streaming software into, other devices, I think they'll pretty much kickstart it. I don't think we're gonna have a, only streaming future until maybe 10 years later. I don't really think it's gonna kick off until, like I said, like really into the future, but I could see it kickstarting in a couple of years.
Yeah, that's probably how it's gonna be. Maybe by 2020 we could see the basic groundwork laid out.
Mm-hmm. So I mean, we it's already there. I don't feel like there's enough users for it to really make it popular. It's only limited to a certain amount of people right now, but as technology evolves, that's eventually going to change. But hey, once that happens,
depends on how much they want to push it.
True. I mean, that's true. It highly depends on
so
that.
Anything else to add?
I honestly think that's largely it. We'll have to see where this console generation goes. I mean, hey, things could really change. I mean, we've had things like the video game crash in 1983 happen. We could see another market crash happen, or heck, we could see another company come into the console race. But
at this point, the big three are pretty well cemented.
Yeah. I mean, I'm talking maybe in the future, but like right now, I don't really see it happening. Anyways, thank you guys for watching. Be sure to follow us on our Twitter and our recently reopened Facebook page, where you'll be seeing updates on when new content comes out. Frostwraith is also hosting daily Smash Trivia, which is on our social media pages. If you want exclusive perks, you can also support us on our Patreon. Everything will be linked in the description below, including our personal Twitters. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I will see you in the next one.